Welcome to the Hello Lovely podcast. I'm your host, Christy Williams, and I teach women how to be themselves. As an exclusive life coach for women, I'll teach you how to manage anxiety, make decisions you're confident in, and stop beating yourself up. So let's get started. Hi, lovely. I am back from a week off, and it was so refreshing. And now it's podcast time. I had recorded a podcast in advance, so there were no gaps in your episodes. But last week I was off the clock and I gave my brain a big break. There were some books I had been wanting to read. And really, in addition to just wanting to read books, I really wanted to give my brain a chance to just be off for a little while. Like a break from TV, a break from social media, from the computer, scrolling, emails, just all of it. And it was so needed. It was done on purpose. Like I scheduled this time on purpose to have everything together and then just give myself time. So I spent some days, sitting outside with a cup of coffee and looking at the beautiful sunrise and sunset, just thinking. I spent some time reading some books that helped me just simplify even more, and books to help my business, books for fun, just relaxation. And let me tell you, just being out of the regular schedule and setting that time aside, it felt like such a treat to be away from the television. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, it gets to be a habit sometimes, even, when you have gotten a lot done in the day and you're not necessarily binging because you don't want to, do something you have to do. Like sometimes just at the end of the day, there's some time after work and you're not doing anything. So it's like, I guess I'll put the TV on. And not having that as the option was so refreshing. I felt like I had so much more brain space. And then as a result, of course, tons of ideas came from my business, tons of ideas to help serve the women I work with, and just other areas to simplify and all the good things. So that's what really is the inspiration for today's episode, to give your brain a break, because we just don't do this. We talk a lot about self-care and maybe doing things to relax us, like taking actions to relax us. For example, spa and I don't know, like I can't even think of any specifically right now, but taking actions to relax us, but also our brain is not getting a rest. So as soon as that particular thing is done, like if it's a massage or something, which feels wonderful, immediately following, our brain is exactly where it was when we went in. And I've definitely had that happen before. So having a contrast of where you really give your brain a break like that is the focus, to say, hey brain, like let me give you some space from all the things that are usually clogging you up. So our topic, let's get right into it. Give your brain a break. Have you ever given yourself time to think? Now, I'm not talking about when we are responding to someone else and we say, let me think about that. Here's my answer. Like this immediate machine gun response. Really, like taking time to think. Now, if this sounds strange, it's only because we don't do it. We just don't do it now. We have a lot of information that we're exposed to every day, like the times we live in, the access of where we live, and the amount of technology we have at our fingertips, which is super fun and awesome that we have. But it has become a space where we put a lot on our to-do lists. And in addition to just scheduling a lot of things that we have to do and take care of, when we're in our quote unquote downtime, we're filling our brain with TV, social media, social media. I'm going to call it that from now on. And it's just data in. And so even though that time may be set aside for us to relax as downtime, our brain not getting a break. One barrier to this is thinking we don't have time for that. Like we don't have time to think. And really, that's just an excuse that our brain uses all the time for all kinds of things. I don't have time for blank. This is just another one of those things that our brain is making an excuse for. So I'm calling it out, brain. Taking time to think, like you don't have to take the week off to give your brain a break, which I highly recommend if you can do it. But giving your brain a break can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just a window of time where you are not consuming information. So you can actually sit in a cozy spot, maybe even with a cup of coffee or something, and really just think and reflect on maybe what's been bothering you or what you want to do, like some kind of goal that you've had in mind that would just be so great that you've put off before, and really just thinking about what it would be like if you went for it. Like, that's super fun. But really, like, what you choose to think about is your own, and that's what makes the space so refreshing. Is most of the time we're telling ourselves as women we don't want to think about it, like as regards to all the things in our lives, like don't want to think about it, don't want to think about it. So this is the opposite of that, and it actually has a very big impact on the relationship you have with yourself. So as a woman, we want to feel validated and heard. The more and more I work with women and the more I talk to men and women together, the more I see that women have a lot more thoughts like going around in their mind at one time than men. So sometimes, like talking to men, they may not understand what having the overwhelmed spin feels like, or are having the anxiety to a higher level. And you know, these men, they're like supportive men. They're men who love us, like men in our lives that mean a lot to us. But because they don't have that same experience, it's just hard to understand. So what may work for them is not something that works for us. Women really want to feel heard, validated, understood, and celebrated. And you know, when you celebrate a woman, you know, you celebrate something with a woman and you're excited together, that feels so good. But it's not something we usually do for ourselves. Like all of those things, we don't hear ourselves, we don't validate ourselves, we don't understand ourselves, we don't celebrate ourselves. But those are all things that we're craving, that we want, like in our brain. Like our brain is looking for that. And so when we're getting a lot of information coming in at us, like all those times where it's like data, consuming, we miss a lot of what we're thinking. And so it feels very easy and automatic to just say, I don't want to think about it. When really, that's exactly what you want to do. So scheduling specific time to think lets you see what's on your mind. And you know, creating a great relationship with yourself is like creating any other relationship with a friend that you want to have. You listen to them. And not just like, yeah, I heard it before, like to what's on someone else's mind. You really get to understand their thoughts and how they feel and what they want to do. And sometimes those are the exact things that we don't know about ourselves. So when you give yourself specific time to think, you get to see what's on your mind. And because our thoughts create our feelings, seeing what you think is like a window into why you feel certain emotions. So I'm going to say that again because it is so important. It's something that's not really highlighted, which they really should teach it in school. But what you think creates how you feel. So if you sometimes find yourself wondering why you feel certain ways, like trying to figure out the emotion or stop feeling the emotion, it comes down to what you're thinking. But because what we usually say is, I don't want to think about it, we don't even get to access any of that. So most of the time, women notice the uncomfortable emotions they're feeling, but don't know why they feel that way. So looking at what you think, there you go. Cha-ching! It's the answer to why you feel that way. And really, the brain is like a thought machine, and the body takes the action. You know, like, I don't know if they just had these in the 80s or if they still have them or what, but like my ladies from the 80s, if you guys know what I'm talking about, like shout me out and let me know. Like those plastic horses or trains outside the grocery store where you could just like sit on them, put a quarter in, and it would just move around. It's like this boring action of like up and down or something, but somehow it was so exciting and we had to do it. So that is what our brain is like. But it's a thought machine. So you put the coin in, boing. The coin is the thought. And when you put the coin in, it starts to move. So you can ride the horsey for 25 cents. But with the brain, every thought that goes in, you're going to have an emotion and an action that goes with it. Like most of that, we don't even see. That's what's super interesting to me about the way we live our lives and get things done is we are so hyper-focused on the actions. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? We're so hyper-focused on the emotions. Don't want to feel that. Don't want to feel that. Why am I feeling that? But we have no idea what we're thinking. And we don't want to look at it. No. But that is the juicy difference. That is the gap between feeling a real calm and having a brain break and feeling like you're always spinning and literally feels like your head is full. So what you get to do is you get to sit down and spend time on purpose that you have set aside to think and access all those little thoughts going into your thought machine, creating your emotions and creating the actions you have. So if you've ever wondered, like, why do I keep doing this? Like you refer to something that's an action you're taking. Why do I keep doing this thing over and over and over? And we try to just stop doing it. But we haven't looked at where that action is coming from. And that is, can you guess? The thought. It is a sentence in your brain that's like a coin, boink, going into the thought machine, creating an emotion that drives your actions. So if you ever worry about, oh no, I hope I don't start thinking XYZ because I don't want that to make me do something, no worries. That's why giving your brain a break is so helpful. Because once you can see exactly what you're thinking, especially all the things that you're like, I don't think I want to look at that. When you just set that aside and you take a look at what you're thinking, you can see all the thoughts going into your thought machine, and you get to decide at that moment if you're taking it with you. Like, do I want to keep thinking this? And the thing with the thoughts that we think is they really go into two categories. Now, our brain is processing about 60,000 thoughts a day-ish, okay? That is a lot. So thank goodness we're not aware constantly of every single thing that's going on. Like the brain in its design is taking care of things, most of the things on default. The thing is, the ones on default create our habits. So if we want to create new habits, we got to go in there and take a look at what those thoughts are in the thought machine causing and driving them. So the two categories of thoughts are what I'm going to refer to as default and intentional. So you don't have to be worried about what your default thoughts already are. If they're ones that you see creating results and emotions for you that you don't really want to do anymore, you don't have to worry that you'll be a victim to those simply because they pop up in your brain sometimes. Because once you have created an intentional thought, one that you want to use to replace it, that serves like a purpose for you, that fuels you with an emotion that is useful to you, every time that old thought pops up, it's not just automatically creating results for you anymore. It's just like, oh, I see you in there. I see you in there, not good enough. Not today. Okay, so I want you to really see this as playful and really as looking at your thoughts as the brain break it is. This will change so much for you. If you don't change anything else and you give your brain a break every day and give yourself, you guys, I used to say 5 minutes, but come on. We can find 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day to think and look at what you're thinking. And once you start this practice, just like anything else, you're going to see how amazing it feels and how you get to clear your head, and it really feels like that break you're looking for. You're going to crave it. And it'll probably be something that you do more than 10 minutes. But even the 10 minutes is valuable to give yourself a break. So like no phone, no email, not watching TV like while you're thinking. This is time set aside, undistracted, with you and your brain. And looking at those thoughts, writing them down on paper, oh, so freeing, y'all. Like if you love the way freeing feels, do this practice. Give your brain a break, look at your thoughts, write them down, and then they'll be out of there, right? So we don't take time to look at our thoughts that we're thinking, they get backed up in there. It's like thought jam. We're like walking around like feeling confused and overwhelmed and unsure of what decisions to make just because our head is like clogged. And it's not because we're crazy, and it's not because we can't do it, and it's not because we don't have the skills or not good enough or anything like that. It's simply because we haven't given our brain a break. That literally is it. If you want to feel more certain and more sure about the decisions you're making, that really just comes as a side effect, as a byproduct to giving your brain a break. Like, what a great bonus, huh? So you set aside time to write down what's on your mind, and writing it down gets all those thoughts on the paper out of your head so you can be out of your head. And your brain doesn't have to keep holding on to it, keeping all of it down. So if you ever hear yourself say, I don't want to think about it, that is usually the signal that it's time to think about it. But not in the way we're used to. Like instead of trying to figure it out in our heads, we put the words on paper and it releases the pressure. You give your brain a break. And when your brain is cleared out, it's easier to take a look at what you really are thinking and what you want to do next. Like, do you want to make any changes? Do you want to keep things as is? You get to decide that so clear and certain from that place. And making this a daily practice, you'll see the difference how you feel. It's going to become a useful tool in your tool belt before you take on any other things in your day. Because like, what a better way to start your day than with a clear brain and a clear head. And when I did this last week for a week, like I definitely had watched a couple movies here and there, sent a couple emails. But as a whole, I gave my brain a huge break, and my brain became an idea machine. So the thoughts that were going in and coming out weren't just ones on repeat. They felt so new and creative, and they were flowing, baby. And it was because I gave my brain a break from the incoming data. But even if it's just like chunks of time that we're just going to social media, TV, emails, like without a purpose, like really to distract ourselves, give our brain a break from that incoming data, you learn a lot about yourself. And as women, that's what we want. We want to be confident about who we are, what we want to do, and know 100% we're going to follow through, have our back, get it done. Right? The painful parts are when they're always opposite of that. Like, who am I and what am I doing? And I don't know if I can. Yeah. It's like, ooh. So that's what we really want. We want to know about ourselves, want to be confident in who we are, what we want to do, and know 100% we can follow through and do it. And that gets so much clearer the more you listen to what you're saying in your head and give your brain a break. The daily brain break is a little interview with yourself to see how you feel and what's on your mind. And you treat yourself like a bestie, just like that friendship we talked about earlier. You're interested in what you have to say. And it makes a big impact in what you decide the rest of the day because your head is clear and you're more confident about who you are and what you want to do. All right, so you guys enjoy your brain breaks. Can't wait to hear how this goes for you. Share all of it with me on Instagram at Miss Christy Williams, and have a great week. I'll see you next time. Hey, lovely. If you want to be more confident on the outside, you have to start on the inside. If you don't take time to create an amazing relationship with yourself, it will show up in every other area of your life. If you feel stuck or don't know how to be yourself, I invite you to work with me one-on-one. Go to MissChristyWilliams.com and sign up for a free call to join my 6-month program. That's MissChristyWilliams.com, and I'll see you in session.